Clean congestion is what we'll get if we rely only on vehicle technology to meet climate change goals. Let's explore why and see what we can do about it. So let's go back to 1990, when new vehicles were rated at 25 miles per gallon, and that resulted in a certain level of CO2 emissions. That'll become our reference CO2 emissions, the 1990 level versus our target of 60% below 1990 levels by the year 2040. In 2005, fuel economy remained flat at 25 miles per gallon, but the amount of driving, as measured in vehicle miles traveled, increased by 39%, pushing CO2 up to 39% above 1990 levels. That increase in driving is due to both population growth as well as increased driving per capita due to factors such as increased car ownership and increased trip lengths, which are due in part to suburban sprawl, in which more compact, walkable, and transit-oriented development shifts to more sprawling, auto-oriented development. Moving now to 2017, we can see that electric vehicles have started to penetrate the fleet, making up about 1% of new sales, and CAFE standards have increased efficiency to 33 miles per gallon for new cars and light trucks. Together, that brought down emissions to 19% above 1990 levels. From 2005 to 2017, we saw very modest VMT growth, about 5%, with a similar increase in CO2 emissions. That slower growth in driving was due to slower economic and population growth, but also to decline in the amount of driving per capita due to factors such as reduced car ownership, more walking, more use of transit, and more people working from home. It's part of a broader trend of the decreasing travel intensity of the U.S. economy, as measured by vehicle miles traveled per dollar of gross domestic product. You can see in this chart that in the mid-90s, we started to see economic growth growing faster than driving. That reflects trends in the economy of shift more towards a service economy, an economy that's more dependent upon moving data and connecting people than it is moving physical objects and people. And that's good news because we do need to reduce vehicle miles traveled to meet climate change and quality of life goals. And we can do that consistent with increasing prosperity, as I'll talk more about in a little bit. What do we expect for the year 2040? The Department of Energy forecasts that the carbon intensity of electricity generation will decrease by 23% below current levels, that fuel economy will increase up to 47 miles per gallon for all new cars and light trucks, that electric vehicles will make up 14% of new sales, and together, I calculate that those will reduce CO2 to 26% below 1990 levels, about halfway toward our target. But the Department of Energy and the Federal Highway Administration also expect driving to increase by 22% from 2017 to 2040, which would push CO2 up to 10% below 1990 levels. So how can we meet our 2040 target of 60% below 1990 levels, given those trends? Let's consider the impacts of a massive shift to green technology. Rapid and broad deployment of renewable energy could cut electricity carbon to 75% below current levels. Fuel economy for new vehicles could be increased to 60 miles per gallon. Electric vehicles could make up 55% of new sales. And together, those could bring CO2 to 48% below 1990 levels. Well on path to our target, but still falling short. If in addition to the green technology shift, we also pursue a paradigm shift to travel efficiency, we can reduce driving through targeted policies and investments, planning and design changes to make walking and cycling safer and more convenient, to improve the quality, coverage, and frequency of public transportation, to pursue land use strategies such as complete streets, transit-oriented development, smart growth. Together, such efforts could cut driving enough to hit our 2040 CO2 reduction target. That could be achieved with a 23% reduction in VMT below the 2040 forecast, or compared to today's levels of driving, that translates to a reduction of 4 miles per day per household. So, in order to meet our climate change goals and avoid clean congestion, we need both low-carbon vehicles as well as travel-efficient communities. While automated vehicles hold the promise of potentially significant improvements in safety, They also risk increasing driving dramatically. According to one Department of Energy study, 15 to 100% or more. A recent study by the Union of Concerned Scientists in their pooling scenario showed that AVs could increase VMT by 49%, which would push CO2 to 23% below 1990 levels, well off path to our 2040 target. A lot of that depends upon what percent of trips are pooled, what the impacts are on sprawl, in trip length, or, as Robin Chase puts it, are we on the path to heaven or to hell? Therefore, clean congestion is what we'll get if we rely only on vehicle technology to meet climate change goals. So how can we avoid clean congestion? We can avoid clean congestion through good land use planning and urban design that promotes compact, walkable, transit-oriented communities. Those efforts can be strengthened with pricing strategies such as for parking or unpooled rides that can create revenue streams for investments to improve transit, walking, and cycling. To cut greenhouse gas emissions, we need both a green technology shift as well as a paradigm shift to travel efficiency. And those strategies work together. Electric vehicles improve air quality, making walking and cycling more pleasant, more practical, and healthier. Travel-efficient communities offer multiple benefits, including reduced greenhouse gas emissions due to lower levels of driving from integrated policies on transportation, land use, pricing, improves accessibility. It's easier to get around when you have multiple travel choices and better street design. Improved resilience. With accessibility and network redundancies, you have backup options. If one part of the system goes down, you still have many ways to get around. Improved quality of life. Improved safety, health due to better air quality and more active transportation. Reduced travel time. Improved prosperity, both in terms of cost savings on fuel, infrastructure, healthcare, as well as increased return on investment in transportation, housing, retail. Together, those can complement and support policies to promote equity for all incomes, ages, and abilities. Federal policy is important for avoiding clean congestion and reducing greenhouse gases. These ideas were informed by recommendations from Transportation for America. First, we need to ask the climate question. Does federal spending make it better or worse? Increasing emissions or reducing them? Increasing resilience or increasing vulnerability? We need to align new construction with greenhouse gas and resilience goals and set transportation greenhouse gas reduction targets for states and MPOs. We need to invest in and incentivize transportation choice so that transit and highways receive the same federal share, prioritize maintenance over construction of new roads, and reform funding distribution to reward travel efficiency and not driving. We need to measure the right things: greenhouse gases per capita, VMT per capita, access. Finally, we need to provide planning and implementation support for travel efficiency for state and local governments. State and local policy is critical to avoiding clean congestion, starting with asking the climate question of various plans, policies, and expenditures, prioritizing low-carbon modes, walking, cycling, public transit, pooled rides, with the lowest priority on single-occupancy vehicles, or eventually we'll be facing zero-occupancy vehicles with automation. Integrate land use, transportation, housing, and climate policies through strategies such as transit-oriented development and providing affordable housing in TOD neighborhoods. Providing incentives to reduce driving per capita, and finally, pursuing pricing strategies such as for parking and unpooled rides. Thank you very much. I welcome you to visit greenresilience.com for more information, including sources and assumptions used in this presentation, and please get in touch. I look forward to your feedback and input into discussing how we might work together to advance low-carbon, resilient, and equitable communities. Cheers.